where we do believe that there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are using it every single day of our lives. I welcome all of you as part of our community, and I feel deeply blessed that we are in community. For those of you who are viewing in, I'm glad that we can offer this wonderful gift of sending this message out to the airwaves. And as we send this message out, we know that everyone that tunes in, there is a divine appointment, because nothing happens by chance. Everything is a divine appointment. So as we come together to acknowledge our true identity, moving beyond ego. Remember, ego is edging God out. So when we look at our true identity and know that we are created in the image and likeness of God, whatever we conceive our God to be, whatever name we put on our higher power, that which is within us is greater than that which resides in the world. Our true identity is God. Whenever we put ourselves down, whenever we do something that we feel is dumb, and we say, oh, I am so stupid, we are using the sacred I am to denigrate the energy of the divine that is within us. So our true identity is we are co-creators with God. That when Jesus, who became the Christ, said, I have made you, you are all gods. Maybe a little lower than the angels. That was, he put out there. Ye are all gods. And that when we arise to our true spiritual stature, and we come together with the acknowledgement that we are created in the image and likeness of something so powerful, so magnificent, that everything and anything that comes within our energy field is healed and uplifted in our presence. That we are touching the seamless, that hem of the garment. Every time we get it, every time we go within and we feel that oneness and we release it into the energy field, knowing this day in whom we live and move and have our being, that true identity goes with us. And it was fascinating because you know that last week, actually the week before, I was in New York, and I was speaking to a group at the United Nations on the Millennium Development Goals that the Reverend Father Dr. Professor Ida from Africa wrote. And he really addressed them to the United Nations. So it was interesting. I only could meet with these certain people. And then it's interesting, their United Nations are now guarded. And you have to get a prior pass to get in. And if you want to get in again, you have to have this prior pass, which I did not have. And I met with one of the volunteers, and I told her that I was the president of the International Foundation for World Peace and Research that we formed while we were in Africa. A professor from Croatia, a doctor from India, a doctor from Amsterdam, a professor from Nigeria, a professor from Poland. We formed the International Foundation for World Peace and Research, and which we wanted to nominate the Reverend Father Dr. Ida from Africa. Now, when I was in Africa, and he said, I'm going to have, Father, all of you take you on a little tour of what we've done. This man has founded 2 universities and a polytechnic college. He looked at poverty, and so he put together, and he came from a little village called Alili, a little obscure village. And he was very inspired by his mother, she would take in all the children that, didn't have enough to eat, and she would, she'd add extra water to the porridge, and she'd bring everyone in. If someone was experiencing dis-ease, she had her home remedies that she would, bring them in, and she would, literally through her love, they would be healed. He bore witness to his mother and the things that she did in her little African community. And he was deeply, deeply inspired. So when the priests came to Nigeria, he decided he would like to really dedicate himself to a religious purpose, to a higher power. And what I discovered in Africa, as I went to Mass every single day, and I am a graduated Catholic, is that they are ecumenical. And they do the tribal dances, and the energy is so high in an African Mass that everyone can feel a part of it. When the bishop came to speak, he addressed the 25,000 students and faculty and said, read your Bible every day if you were a Christian. If you're a Muslim, which also go to his school, read your Quran every day. If you were a Protestant, do what opens your heart. And I sat there and thought, this is a Catholic priest here in Nigeria, in the River State, and he's acknowledging all the other faiths. I was so deeply inspired. When I was speaking in Cambridge, England, actually it was Oxford in 2008 at that time, the Reverend Dr. Professor Ida was in the audience. And he came up to me afterward and he said, I was very inspired by what you said. We have the same message. And I said, a message of oneness. Yes, will you come to Nigeria? Will you speak to our students and our faculty? We have the same message. And I thought, isn't it wonderful that when we talk about moving beyond color, race, creed, and sexual orientation, there's Bishop Tutu, part of the Catholic Church, and he's acknowledging our gay brothers and sisters. And I thought that the United States has a few things to learn from Africa, and I say that from the highest vibratory frequency, that there is a oneness, that there is an energy, that if we are of that consciousness, that we draw it to us. And when we draw that energy to us, there is an opening. And when Dr. Ida saw that there were people starving, he put into place factories. He has a water factory. He has a bread factory. He has a factory. You name it. He has 5 factories, a paint factory. I toured every single factory so that the homeless are now gainfully employed, the unemployed. He's put into place some hospitals on the acreage and brought in doctors from all over the world, Doctors Without Borders, that realize what is our true identity? Our true identity is that we are one. And this oneness penetrates anything unlike itself. And the minute that you know that you're an ego, hey, my barometer is, am I experiencing joy and happiness? If I'm not, I'm an ego. Then I need to go within to the secret place of the Most High, to pray to my Father, Mother, God in secret, and to be acknowledged openly by the outward demonstrations of our lives. My job as a minister for almost 40 years is to reach the person who's never heard of our way of life, of metaphysics. And the person that's been sitting there for 35 years and thinks they know it all. But if we look at our lives, and we look at our relationships, and we look at our finances, and we look at our physicality, and I am so grateful. I am so very grateful that I am in radiant health, and I bless energetically, I bless that energy flowing through me every day of my life, because my lesson this lifetime was not about the physical or dis-ease. I've had other lessons. Someone said, how many times are you married, Dr. Sharon? Only 3. So we have other lessons that we learned. So I said, God played a very dirty trick on me. He gave me the best first, so that no one else measured up. And when we get to learn that we draw people into our lives because we have unhealed issues, that they're going to outpicture for us so that we can get it. And once we get it, we either go on in the relationship and we grow together, or we grow apart. It's not bad and it's not good. We come together to learn, to grow, to unfold in some pretty amazing ways. And if you can do it together, great. But some of us have to go our own ways. And when we go our own ways, we learn and grow. And anyone that I've ever been married to, we're still very good friends. And I could not always say that. I thought, girl, you have grown. You don't need to, they're not in my life in a real, in the inner circle, but we're friends. We're good friends. And if you can say that you're good friends to someone you've been married to or in a relationship or it was your partner, I think that is wonderful. Because then you know you've healed your issues. You've healed why you drew them in. And those places that we needed to grow and unfold. That we don't need to be the victim of any situation. That we realize that we are empowered. That there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are. And we can use them. I always disclose about my life because I feel if I've learned a vital lesson through an experience, I want to share it with those that want to grow and unfold in amazing ways. I don't stand up here, saying that I have it all together. We all have the places that we need to learn and to grow and unfold. I do have a certain level of mastery. And at almost 70 years old, I'm very grateful for that I've stuck with it. I've stuck with this Science of Mind and by Dr. Ernest Holmes. And I love this book. It comes to life. When you first read it, you think, oh, it's kind of wordy, it's kind of this. He wrote this in the 20s during times of depression, when people were panhandling, they were in long lines for food. He had the spiritual audacity to write The Science of Mind and to say, and he said, never limit your view of life by any past experience. You must maintain a positive, consistent, aggressive mental attitude in the truth. The chapter on mental equivalence. We must maintain a positive, consistent, aggressive mental attitude in the truth. Not be bowled over every time some wind comes up, winds of change. We think, oh my God, how could this have happened? I'm such a good person. I just don't know how this could have happened. Look at all I've done and the good works. That's ego. Remember, we do what we do for the glory of God and our own spiritual growth. And when we get it, that we're doing it for our spiritual unfoldment and our growth, others are uplifted in that beautiful energy of enlightenment and being self-realized. Our true identity is being self-realized. When Buddha had a little circle of devotees, and they went within, one of the monks held up a flower, and he smiled. And Buddha nodded. This man got it. That we are all one. And that the energy is always there for us. In the seed, in the plant, in the bloom, in the energy. Isn't it wonderful when we get it? When I walked across the street, I was staying on Broadway, right off Broadway, on 47th. I walked right across the street to the Ethel Barrymore Theater, and I got to see my boyfriend. He's a little too old for me, though. Denzel Washington was the star of Raisin in the Sun. And it was I love live theater. I absolutely love live theater. And I love The Raisin in the Sun, and if you haven't read it, it's just so worthwhile to read. And it's about a black family in the South. And, young Walter, younger, wants to get ahead in the world, and he entrusts his father's legacy to someone who is untrustworthy, and suddenly, one moment he has all this money, the next moment he does, and he thought, he said, I understand. I'm not going to, he goes, there are those, the takers and the tooken. I'm not going to be the tooken anymore. I'm going to be a taker. And so he devises this little plan. But the mama looks to him, and she sees his Christ presence. She sees who he is. She empowers him. And he arose to the occasion of his true spiritual stature, because some good old white folks just didn't want them moving in to their neighborhood. And so he was going to he goes, I'm going to make a killing. They were willing to pay him off. I'm not going to be the tooken. I'm going to be the taker. And he's got this plan devised. But when that gentleman came in to write the check for them not to move into their neighborhood, something arose in him, his true identity, the place where he knew that he was powerful, and said, no sale. We are moving in that neighborhood. Because the truth is, every neighborhood is a neighborhood of oneness, even when it looks like it's completely different. That if we buy into being less than, the universe will accommodate us. Maya Angelou said, when people tell you who you are, believe them the first time. Did you get it? The first time. Listen, yes, there are the takers. And we were talking yesterday about how, I've had some plants dug up, along Hermosa, my beautiful bougainvillea, And I said, well, we actually created temptation because Felipe, my gardener, didn't spread it out and put wires on it. He just sort of left them there for someone to say, oh, it's just waiting for me. I think I'll dig them up. So I had this conversation with my gardener. I said, do you comprehende? You just stuck them there. Somebody came by and thought they were for them, that you'd just done this wonderful service. And he goes, Dr. Sheridan, I love you, but I don't always understand you. And I said, I love you too, Felipe, but you're catching on, honey. So spread out. You spread out the branches, and you wire them to the fence. We don't want to create temptation either. So as we come together to acknowledge that there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we're moving in. We're moving into the next level. And we don't care how many energies come in to tell us that we're not worthy. There is something within us that knows that we are worthy, that knows that we are deserving, that all the old programming passes away and we arise triumphant and victorious in the knowingness that we are not signing anything. We're not signing anything to say that I am less than. I and my Father, Mother, God are one. This is my true identity. So today, as we come together in community and make that commitment to our true identity, we will grow in amazing ways. We will unfold in amazing ways. Here is an African priest that put in he created 5 manufacturing companies, and now the unemployed are gainfully employed. He just did the next best thing because he had a role model. He saw Mama do things that he did on a broader scale. He built a cathedral that seats 50,000. So this little obscure village in Olili is now a pilgrimage. It's a place that everyone knows. Wherever I was in New York and I was in the United Nations and I talked about the Reverend Father Dr. Ida, all the Africans, no matter where they were in Africa, they knew about this man and what he had done. So today, as we come together acknowledging our true identity, which is our oneness, that moves beyond color, race, creed, and sexual orientation, that arises in the energy of the holy I am, that says, hey, I am created in the image and likeness of something so powerful that I am moving into that next level. And I am going to be escorted by the angels and all those that are with me in consciousness. And the ones that aren't, I bless. But there's nothing we can do about that. Everyone, as Ernest Holmes says, comes to themselves in their own time. But if we hear the call, we answer that call. We come together in this recognition that there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we can definitely use it. And that's why I love our way of life. And today, as I acknowledge each and every one of us who heard the call and we answered that call, we answered it because there's nothing like community. To be in community, to feel that energy and that love and that light, and to know that every time we step out of our comfort zone, we are going where? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. Do you believe that? We are going higher yet, and I feel it at the deepest level. God bless you. I love you, and namaste.